This YCN segment is brought to you by H.R. Clough and Kearsarge Heating, your local energy specialist.
Welcome back, YCN Sports Talk. Jeremy Stout, Brett Franklin in this week, and we get to some NFL. Before we get to on-the-field stuff, some sad news that most of you have probably heard. Terry Glenn, former Patriots wide receiver, passing away, dying in a car accident earlier this week at 43. And Brett, we talked about this at length on your show yesterday. Just an interesting guy, both on the field and off the field. An interesting time in Patriots lore, with the Super Bowl with Parcells and Parcells leaving. Just some memories of Terry Glenn and that Patriots squad from 96 to 2002 or 2001.
For a lot of us watching this program, Jeremy, there was a time when the Patriots weren't very good and winning seasons came far and few between. Mm-hmm. And you're right, it did bring up a trickle of the past, and Terry Glenn passing away, tragic car crash down in Texas. And really, like you said, a turning point in the history of the franchise. He was drafted 7th overall in the 1996 NFL draft out of Ohio State. And that's really what started the rift between Bob Kraft and Bill Parcells, who was then the head coach of the Patriots. Bob Kraft had owned the team for about 3 or 4 years at that point. Bill Parcells wanted a defensive player, and they draft a wide receiver, and that started the whole split. But you look at that team, and he had over 1,000 yards receiving in his rookie season. For many of us, we thought it was Drew Bledsoe, Terry Glenn, and Curtis Martin for the future. Obviously didn't last too long after that, but still a fantastic player. Never really thought he reached his pinnacle as a player, but just had so much potential. And I know Drew Bledsoe on social media this week and doing a couple interviews, obviously very sad. And that tandem was very dangerous to go up against defensively. But certainly you feel bad for the Glenn family, and thoughts going out to his family moving forward.
Yeah, and also kind of a reunion with Bledsoe and Glenn and Bill Parcells in Dallas for the Cowboys later on and towards the end of their career. So a big piece of, like you said, that Patriots nation before it was the official winning Pats nation.
It was my favorite team prior to the 2001 Super Bowl. Like, we mentioned those 3 guys, and then you had Troy Brown on that team. Teddy Bruschi, I believe, was only in his second year. So the foundation, and then Bill Belichick was an assistant coach for that team. So a lot of the roots that we saw later on during those Super Bowl runs were quite there as well. Charlie Weiss was a former assistant as well. The list goes on.
Yeah, exactly. And Terry Glenn did catch Tom Brady's first touchdown pass of his career. So an interesting little tidbit, and that segues right into today's NFL. Patriots passing the test. Maybe the toughest 2-week stretch out in Denver than in Mexico City against Oakland.
Was it the toughest stretch of the... beforehand, sorry.
Right, going into the season, we thought it might be the toughest 2-week stretch. But you're right. I mean, this team continues to just overpower teams. Was this a situation where the Patriots are really that good, or the Raiders really that bad? The Broncos, we've seen them, they're really that bad. They just lost to the Bengals. But it doesn't seem to get any tougher. They got the Dolphins this week, 17-point favorites at home.
Played the schedule, right, Jeremy?
I guess so.
It's just been kind of a head-scratcher of an NFL season, right? All the teams we thought that would be there, and all the division leaders in the NFC are teams that didn't even make the playoffs last year. If you're a Patriots fan, you got to feel really good right now, right? Mm-hmm. The offense starting to click here. The defense has been playing very well. I know you weren't an early buyer in the Raiders. I was. I didn't think they would be this bad. Tom Brady, by the way, I think he's 8-1 against Jack Del Rio defenses in his career, and the numbers are just insane.
Yeah.
But this team's playing their best football right now, and I think this is where you want to be heading into the home stretch of the season. Like you said, you got the Dolphins at home this week, at the Bills next week, and the Bills are just in absolute chaos right now, and then you're at Miami. I'd be worried about that at Miami game if the Dolphins hadn't already packed it in by this point. The season's over. And if they start Jay Cutler again this Sunday in the Miami Dolphins, Adam Gase should be fired. I mean, that guy, Jay Cutler's got nothing left in the tank. Matt Moore statistically has been so much better. But if they stick with him, I mean, that's just, put up the white flag before the game even starts. But if you're a Patriots fan, you got to feel good at this point in time.
But it's probably not as bad as benching Tyrod Taylor. So the Bills probably take the cake on one of the most head-scratching decisions of the season.
I mean, you're in the final playoff spot in the AFC and you bench your starting quarterback. Listen, he wasn't putting up great numbers, but for a guy, Jay Peterman, I'm just kidding. I keep calling him Jay Peterman for Seinfeld. Nate Peterman, whoever it is. You could put in Steve Peterman. It wasn't going to matter.
Well, he might have been better if it wasn't the real Jay Peterman.
They have flushed their season down the toilet, and unnecessarily in my mind.
Yeah, and like you said, they're fighting for that playoff spot with the Titans and the Ravens, and it looks like they could be on the outside looking in. So we'll talk some more playoff picture and some NFC when we come back. You're watching YCN Sports Talk.